what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football, and welcome back to your Sunday night live stream, the holiday edition. Happy Father's Day to everybody out there watching, and I appreciate you if you're taking the time to join us on a Father's Day. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers, pleased to be joined by fellow Lifetime Longhorn, the man, the myth, the legend, Bobby Burton, and the estimable Jerry Hamilton as well. We got a lot to get into on the show, of course. We'll talk some recruiting. We'll also dive into the Directors Cup. Congratulations to the Texas Athletic Department once again winning another Directors Cup, 4 in the last 5 years. We'll dive into that conversation as well. Some of the Longhorns actually took a trip to support one of their fellow teammates in a camp they're holding in their hometown. Thought that was pretty cool. So we'll get into that a little bit too on the show. But whatever you guys want to talk about, of course, that's what matters to us. Throw out your questions, comments. We'll try to address as many of them as we can. Super chats, jump to the front of the line. You can interrupt the show at any time. Talk about whatever you want to talk about. Just throw a super chat out there. And we'll address that real time. So thank you guys for joining us once again. Really appreciate it. First of all, I think we should just congratulate. I know Bobby did a really good piece about this earlier this weekend about Texas winning the Directors Cup. I just want to say congratulations once again to the athletic department and to CDC. It is a hell of an accomplishment, not only to, be a program now that can be worthy of winning the Directors Cup, right? But to be able to do it in 4 of the last 5 years, I don't know if we've seen anything like this in terms of the overall athletic excellence. Now, the challenge, because I talked to some Longhorn fans about this. I was like, do y'all care about the Directors Cup? They was like, well, yes and no. They care about it, but they want to be winning some of the bigger sports with it too. What CDC has done, he has totally lifted the floor of Texas sports. The minimum standard now, the minimum standard is that you are top 10 and, in the conversation to be a championship team and making a run the postseason. That's like the minimum now. So the minimum is a really high standard for every sport across the board. And I've talked to multiple coaches, and they all say they feel that pressure. Like, no, that's it. When we all get together, it's a lot of great coaches achieving a lot of great things. So I think that's what he's really done. I think the next step for CDC, and I think it's coming, is to lift the ceiling. Right, as MJ said, right, the ceiling is the roof or whatever. Like, they want to lift the ceiling of the program, which I think he's done. But in order to do that, you gotta break through in the bigger sports. Softball, shout out, that is one of those. I would say volleyball, that is one of. But you gotta, football, basketball, baseball. I think that's what some of the Longhorn fans are holding out for in their enthusiasm for the Directors Cup.
Yeah, let's start this off right. Chris Bennett says, Aggies call the Directors Cup a Twitter award. Funny, that's what we called the A&M 2022 recruiting class. I'll tell you which one I'll take, the one that has a trophy.
Yeah, well.
That's true.
They created a trophy on behalf of Jimbo Fisher for that, didn't they, with the national title in the future?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Here's what I would say. I would push back a little bit on that. Oh, well, we want to see the championships in the bigger sports. Yeah, so does everybody else in the world. Hey, come on now. I mean, if you're not UConn in basketball right now and men's and women's, I mean, who's winning anything with regularity?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, Texas wants to break through in football, and they've been close. They've been in the semifinals. The only team that's been in the semifinals in both the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And come on, there's a little bit of that. Obviously, baseball and basketball have not been right on the 40 acres. It looks like they've gotten baseball fixed.
Yeah.
This past year, and now maybe they've got basketball fixed, we hope, with Sean Miller. But, I think that there's a little bit of, oh, well, we want – of course, everybody wants championships. But you're not going to – I mean, that's not – Alabama wants them too. What are they now, 3 years without one? Oh, my God.
Panic. Yeah.
I mean, it just doesn't work that way. I would also say that one of the benefits of this Directors Cup is something more subliminal messaging, I think, amongst the athletes themselves. Rod, you've talked about this before. You see one team winning, you want to win too.
Mm-hmm.
you see one group of athletes winning, you want a little touch of that. If you're a football player, if you're a baseball player, if you're another, you want to hold up your end of the bargain and taste a little bit of that glee that you feel when you win. So I think I do believe a rising tide lifts all ships a little bit, and hopefully that happens on the 40 acres as much as possible. Hey, look, I mean, Texas football has held up. I think it's into the bargain to a large degree. It's basketball, baseball that have been problematic. Now, basketball, obviously, like I said, they did something about it. Baseball, I feel like they finally got their feet under them. They're doing well in the portal, by the way, in baseball. So that's something to look forward to as well.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, so we normally start off with Texas recruiting when we talk recruiting, but we have a special congrats.
Uh-oh.
Our friend, Rod, former teammate, Alfio Visi, his son visits Washington State today on his official visit.
Big cat,
Alfio, great friend of the show, lifetime Longhorn. I just wanted to tell you a special congrats, man. Your son commits on Father's Day or on y'all's official visit out there. That is really cool, dude.
That's phenomenal.
Dude, so happy for you, man. We sent a text around. Very happy for you, Alfio.
It's a proud moment.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah, and happy Father's Day, Big Cat. That's great. That is unbelievable. Yeah. All right. Since the segue there, it's a nice segue there. Appreciate that, Jerry. Let's dive into recruiting. Let's start with the official visitors, and I know Matthew has a list of them. And kind of go through, Jerry. Obviously, what you think the experience of these guys was like when they got a chance to get their official visit to Texas.
Yeah, so I'll just go down the list real quick. You guys can pile on the questions after that on guys. Jalen Lott, I think Texas had a really, really good visit. It was a football visit. I think high jump track was also involved a little bit, as much as possible there with guys being on the road. But I think Texas did really well with Jalen Lott this weekend. So they're recruiting him as a wide receiver only, nothing else. Obviously his sister runs track at USC. He's going to Oregon next weekend, but I think Texas has done a really good job there. Sam Roseborough, I said coming into it, it'll be interesting from a perspective of, whether you NIL, whatever you want to call it. But I think if there's one that I was watching this weekend, it was Roseborough, and we'll see what happens there. I think A&M made a big move with him last weekend, and we'll see what Texas does coming out of this visit. But I would say I'm not so sure. Have not heard a lot about like details post visit. He was late getting in. He had 3 flight delays getting in Friday. So he was a late guy getting in. I think Florida had some confidence going into the Texas visit. Felix Ojo, I think Texas had a great visit with him. He has a lot of confidence. He was hosted by Trevor Gooseby. And I look, we'll see what he announces, but I think Texas has done a really good job in that recruitment. I think Texas has done a really good job in the recruitment of Zayden Crimpin, the offensive tackle / inside offensive lineman, depending on where his frame goes. Out of Prosper, teammate in Mikey Bukowskis. If he maintains close to home, I kind of like Texas' chances. Damari Simmons, I think Texas did a great job here. What's interesting is I didn't know as much from the academic side on him until the last couple of weeks, but this is a guy who's extremely through his parents, mom especially, academically focused part of the recruitment. So this is one where the academic part of this recruitment is very as much a key as anything. I don't think Penn State's going to be the pick. I think it's Texas, Ohio State, or Michigan. He's scheduled to be at Ohio State this weekend. I think Michigan academically did a great job with him on their visit as well. And I think Texas did a good job there. We'll see which way it goes. Vodney Cleveland, we talked about that going into the visit. If it leans out of state, we thought it would come down to Texas and Florida. I think Texas did a great job with him this weekend. Scheduled to be at Miami next weekend. We'll see on that. Bryce Perry, right, has A&M next weekend. Texas, Clemson, right there with that recruitment. He visited Miami as well. I think all 4 are in that, and we'll see which way it goes. Dre Quinn, I think Texas, Clemson, top 2 there. I think Georgia is probably will make a list, but I really it could change. But I think Texas, Clemson there, and we'll see which way that goes. if there's somewhere that maybe he thinks he can play more early on, that could change the recruitment a little bit. We'll see which way it goes. Jake Cruel, for those wondering, Texas would take Jake Cruel. Obviously has some Florida legacy in his family, not necessarily football players, but people that went to University of Florida. Has Oklahoma next weekend. Xavier Griffin announces on the 29th. There's some confidence on the Texas side. There's confidence on the Alabama side. Also visit Ohio State. He has FSU this weekend. Braden Rouse, I believe Tennessee, slight leader over Texas there. Alabama in it. He goes to Tennessee this weekend. Samari Matthews, I think Texas has done a great job in that recruitment. He's at South Carolina this weekend ahead of an August 12th decision, I believe that is. Texas, Miami right now with South Carolina coming up this weekend. And I think Texas is in a pretty good spot there.
Good stuff. Good stuff, Jerry. Great breakdown there. And I know we got a lot of questions piling up, so I'm going to get right to a few of these that are about recruiting. But before we do that, though, Jerry, let me ask you about who's your, obviously all of these guys are great players. Is there a player that Texas needs among this group more than another in terms of either momentum or a certain position of need?
Yeah, it's a great question, Rod. My guy on this list, and there are a lot of tremendous players.
Yes, so, no doubt.
It's Xavier Griffin for me, because what have we been talking about? Pass rush.
Okay.
And this guy is a linebacker, maybe the best pass rush linebacker in the country.
Like what Anthony Hill is.
And with a taller frame.
Mm.
I mean, he's a legit 6'3.5". Seen him twice now. And so he carries 210 in a lean way. He's probably going to be 235, 240. I think that versatility of being able to rush off the edge, play through linebacker spot, which he's played middle, he's played outside. That guy is a pass rusher, because you just got to have those guys. I mean, you've just got to have the difference maker pass rushers in this league. And I think he is that guy of this group.
I like that.
Jerry, any thoughts on the three offensive linemen that came in particular? I was going to ask you if there's, because that was the position that we were thinking, and CJ and Jeff talked about it over the weekend on a update here, and what could be a crowded room potentially among the parties. Sam Roseborough out of Clearwater, Florida, Felix Ojo out of Mansfield, and then Zayden Crimpen up out of Prosper. Those three guys all in on top of the two guys already committed to Texas, and then Texas has another big weekend. What are your thoughts on the three offensive linemen that came in this week?
Yeah, look, I thought headed into the weekend, Texas might leave for all three. Headed into the weekend, but that doesn't mean you leave with all three. And I think there's probably two guys Texas still leads for out of that group. But next weekend's a big weekend. Turntine, Grayson McHugh out of Pennsylvania, too. He's announcing July 1st. He's still scheduled to come in next weekend. He's been at Penn State and Notre Dame. And look, Texas likes him. He's not a guy that's been known as much, but Texas likes him. But then the guy out there is Malachi Lee. Obviously Turntine's coming in next weekend, which I think, Texas is in a pretty good spot. But obviously A&M made a big run at a few guys here in the last 2 weekends to make these some real battles here coming up. And you don't win all your battles. But then you have Malachi Lee out there, who was at Georgia unofficially this weekend, goes to Michigan next weekend. And I think, look, if Texas had 5 guys committed and Malachi Lee called them, I don't think they're turning him down. I'll say that. He's too talented, too good.
All right. Good stuff. All right, guys, we'll get to your question. I know a lot of recruiting and official visit related questions. We'll get to those. Let's thank our sponsor before we dive deep into it. Our friends over at Rogue Shop, rogueshop.com. We appreciate their ongoing support of On Texas football. Rogue Shop, bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. Use that discount code. You see it right there on your screen, On Texas, and you'll get a very special discount from our very special friends over at rogueshop.com. They have it all, from oils and creams to flour, gummies and vitamins, no matter what you're dealing with. Maybe it's anxiety, maybe it's sleep deprivation, maybe for you it's just aches and pains, like personally I've been dealing with, just fighting Father Time, or maybe from your old playing days, whatever it may be. Our friends over at Rogue Shop have a variety of different items that help you deal with a lot of different ailments, no matter what you're dealing with. Apparently, one of our fans and friends over at from On Texas actually recently went over to rogueshop.com because they were dealing with some sleep deprivation deprivation issues, and decided to try some of the items. And actually now they're sleeping like a baby, thanks to our friends over at Rogue Shop. So we appreciate them, and you might appreciate them a lot more if you check them out at rogueshop.com. Use that discount code on Texas, and you'll get a discount from our friends at rogueshop.com. All right, we'll dive into some of the super chats here. We got a couple of super chats, and then we'll dive into some of the other questions. But first here, Jonah Williams enthusiast says, "Happy Father's Day, guys. Want to thank you for everything you guys do. Would you tell these fine people what we are getting with Jonah Williams in our secondary?" Thank you very much, Jonah Williams enthusiast. We appreciate that kind super chat of you and the kind words as well. And happy Father's Day to you too. I said it, and I haven't said it about anybody else since, and I hadn't said it before that. But when Jerry told me to watch the film and I saw it, I said, he's got what it takes to win the Thorpe Award. He's got the raw materials. I think his instincts are probably his most impressive trait to me. He's got a lot of impressive traits. His instincts are really impressive as a football player overall. He could have a Caleb Downs effect, not the same kind of player.
No.
But in terms of the value they bring and impact they could have on a defense from the safety position. So not the same kind of player, but just in terms of the impact they could have on the defense. You can move him around the formation, do different things with him. I do see him being at that inverted defender in that, inverted 3 high Tampa 2 look, him being that guy that they can put at that second level who can really use his instincts to his advantage, reading the quarterback, making plays on the football. So I think he's that good. He's probably one of the most natural safeties that I've seen in a long time. And
to further Rod's point, I think he has great range too. If he's playing off the ball, like he can almost bait you with range. He can almost bait you with range and go make plays on the ball. And he's fearless. He's a fearless guy now. At some point, he's going to have to protect his body as an athlete a little bit. But his fearless, it's hard to tell somebody to turn fearlessness off. I do think that's why he will be a factor in the return game from game 1 or 2.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, he is that. I've seen him in the return game. He is impressive. I wonder if that's something he can do early on.
They scare you. Guys that are fearless scare you in the return game, but in the punt return game especially. But isn't that why they make big plays too? Xavier Worthy, Silas Bolden. They have a fearlessness when the football's in the air, and sometimes it scares you, but there's also the flip side where they can make impactful plays.
Yeah, I agree with that. And we know that from watching him with the Texas baseball team. Yeah. I talked to Coach Schloss about him. He's like, people thought he was out there trying to put on the show. He's like, they don't understand the competitive fire he has. I call it a competitive sickness. He's got that kind of competitive sickness. And that's why he was out there. He can't really control it. I mean, it's a sickness for a reason. For a guy.
Look, I think that y'all have said it probably better than I can with Jonah Williams. If he can if it translates early, I mean, he's just another piece of the puzzle that's an elite athlete that has an elite mindset. And I'm just telling y'all, you start getting enough of those Anthony Hills, Colin Simmons types, Arch Mannings, Ryan Wingo. You just start adding those guys up, and pretty soon you got a pretty special team. So that's all I would say to that, because I do, to y'all's point, I agree with everything y'all said, both of you. You know what I mean, Rod? I was the one that was in. I never forget telling you got to watch this kid, and you watch him. And Jerry, the first time you went and saw him, you came back, oh no, he's just a dude. And it's a little bit more with some guys when they've got it in their body and then they got it in their brain too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And hopefully he stays healthy. That's a concern that I have with Jonah, based on what we saw in baseball a little bit.
I want to answer this because Chris Bennett, this asked a lot. Is Jonah at Texas versus Schlossnagel? I think from the baseball side, that certainly helped. But one thing that happened during his recruitment, later in his recruitment, is his oldest brother moved to Austin. A former Nick Williams was a sandwich pick in MLB. I think he had a cup of coffee in MLB. He now lives in Austin. And and I think there's a real comfort there for the family. Yeah, Jonah's brother was an A&M signee. He was actually a Texas commitment, I believe, flipped to A&M in baseball and then ended up going pro. Yeah, I think so. The combination of that, and look, here's the thing with Jonah too, is he's a big stage mindset person.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yep. Big stage, he's drawn to the biggest stage.
Yep. Period. Schloss also said that too. That he's one of those big. He likes the big moment. He craves the big moment.
And the last thing on him, and I said this during this whole recruitment, and look, I've been wrong before, but I live in Friendswood, so I was closer to this one. But it was also in the family history. Nobody had gone out of state for college. The dad went to U of H and played. He was a Galveston ball, played football at U of H. The brother was committed to Texas. Nick signed with A&M. The middle brother is playing JUCO baseball at Galveston. I think I'm not sure where he's going to go D1. Damn. But nobody's ever left the state for college. There's some little state pride in that family.
That's a lot, and some great genetics.
Yeah, and that.
That's wild.
Oh, look at this super chat.
Right.
Okay.
Oh man.
There it is.
I'm the only one that doesn't do anything. Here I am.
Oh, that.
I'm like the only one that doesn't do
the lampshade.
I'm gonna get Jerry a different type of Texas helmet. I'm gonna do it.
I'm gonna read this. Happy Father's Day from Aloha Traveler. You all make the offseason bearable. Will we see Sark change up the scheme on offense with Arch? Rod, that was a good video you had this weekend. We all know he loves the deep ball, and we haven't seen the full offense yet, in my opinion, because of QB play, or at least type of QB play. Might we see a much more aggressive offense this year? Rod, that's a little bit of a take up on what you had to say about Arch in your video earlier today. What are your thoughts here?
I think it will be a little bit more aggressive. I think naturally, we talked about this, right? Arch digs the long ball. He likes it, right? Because I think his deep ball rate, passes of 20+ yards last year, 21%. That would have been among the national leaders among starting quarterbacks, right? Quinn was hovering around 12%, his deep ball rate. So I think Arch naturally likes the deeper vertical routes into progression. And I think actually he's better at converting and at completing some of those deeper routes downfield. I think he naturally gets through progressions a little bit better and more efficiently than Quinn did. And so I do believe you're going to have some of the route tree open up as well. Some of the routes they didn't really throw with Quinn. Old school kind of comeback routes. You may get that. You may get some of the deeper, we could talk about that, the deeper vertical shots downfield, the post route, the post corners. I think some of that's coming back into the offense. Remember when Sark first got here, guys, and we all complained about it because Texas wasn't good at it. But he was throwing a lot of vertical shots down the field, almost too many, because Quinn wasn't really, that wasn't a strength of Quinn's. And he got better at it, but it still was never naturally a strength of Quinn. I think it's a strength for Arch. Also, I think that the just straight drop back game is going to be better under Arch. I'm talking about no play action pass, no RPO element.
Why do you think that? Why do you think that though?
Well, because I actually went and tracked it, and I did a Sunday school about it. Because he gets through progressions a little bit better, and I think he has more mobility, so keeps some plays alive in the drop back game, and he'll be able to have the scramble drill, which is something that was a rarity with Quinn, to have the scramble drill to keep a play alive. But I just think he's really good in the straight drop back passing game. I went and tracked it. I went and looked at 3rd and long, guys. So the 2 starts he had, I went and looked at 3rd and long, 3rd and 7+ yards to gain. That's considered 3rd and long. And he, in the 3rd and long, and usually you convert 3rd and long, guys, between maybe 25% and maybe at a high end 31%, like a third of your 3rd and longs. That's pretty good. If you're completing a third of 3rd and longs, you're converting a third of 3rd and longs. He was over 50%. And what happens on 3rd and longs, the reason they're interesting to study is because you strip away all the cheat codes from Sark's offense. There's not going to be any play action pass on 3rd and long. You strip away the RPO. Sometimes he'll run a screen, but most of the time on 3rd and long, you did a straight drop back game. And he was great Like he was not considering the competition, but he was really good at that. And I assume that'll translate. As he gets more reps, he'll get better in that straight drop back game. And so I just think ultimately there are some elements of the offense that you just couldn't maximize or weaponize with Quinn, to Aloha Traveler's point, that will open up cheat codes that you couldn't use, the deep ball, and also the quarterback run game. That's something that Texas didn't have available to it. So it is possible the offense, I hate to say it could get better because it was a really good offense, but in terms of how efficient it could be, especially the turnovers, you can obviously decrease those, and getting better in critical situations like third and long, third downs, red zone. If you improve in those areas and decrease the turnovers, guys, it's very possible next year your offense is actually better than it was last season. And that's crazy considering what you lost.
Rod, go ahead, Jerry. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I think there's a couple of things too. I just have a sneaking suspicion that we're going to see a little difference in the run game scheme this year. I call it a hunch, guys. And then the other thing, Rod, I actually think the downfield vertical threat passing game helps the screen game.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
Because guys are going to be, if you can, and we've talked about this before, but if the vertical passing game takes a safety a step further away, makes your linebackers get more depth because of how you're attacking the field and the way you're attacking it and who's attacking it, it also helps open up your screen game a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because Texas had a lot of they worked through a lot of jumbled inside 12 to 14 yards of offense.
Yeah.
And then you may not have that. But I think the run game, I think any schematic changes in the run game, not that you're going away from things, I just have a sneaking suspicion they're going to attack it a little different at times this year.
Rod, yeah. I had a question for you as well. And Jerry, I'd comment. I don't know that I've ever articulated this before on one of these podcasts, but we all know Quinn's yards per completion went down over his career.
Yep.
Texas, right? Is that because basically Sark figured out that he couldn't throw the deep ball, and at the same time, simultaneously, the defense started getting better? And so Sark started playing more keep away?
I mean, that's
the first part, Bobby. The first part is because Quinn struggled outside the hashes or outside the numbers down the sidelines. The field was restricted to start.
Mm-hmm.
That's then my thing is like, so you weren't playing on the full field.
That's true.
So and then from there, Rod, I don't know what your thoughts are, but
I think Jerry hit the nail on the head. Yeah, immediately you start. Teams are a lot more aggressive because the field shrinks because you're not as worried about the deep vertical routes downfield. And Quinn's trying to get the ball out quick, and he doesn't necessarily have a lot of straight drop back situations where the defense has to be wary of the vertical pass. Talking about a 5-step drop, getting deeper into progressions. That's not really what Quinn in Texas did really well. A lot of their explosive plays were yak yards, run after the catch, not necessarily deep vertical shots down the field. So I think Jerry's right. I think you're right about that too. I think complementary football also played a role second half of the season with Sark because he understood the identity of this team is we're a defensive team. Even though we got a lot of stars on offense and Sark is the brilliant play caller, but if you go look at how Texas won games, we all watched it. Their defense set the tone and was the identity of the team.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
I think, but that's a good coach. To me, I don't fault Sark for that. I think I praise him for that. Go ahead, go win games the way you need to win them. He's not cocky. He's not arrogant. I love that about Sark. He's not stuck on I got to win this way. He'll win however the opposing team will let him. He'll take the win. And I think that's been maturity on his part too. I think when he first got here, he wanted to win a certain way. Now he's like, no, the defense, let's go win it. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that you felt some stubbornness during 5 and 7.
Yep.
We all agree with that.
Yep.
Especially in the second half as we watch third down after third down go by.
Yep.
You feel I feel you now, Rod. I don't think maybe he's come into his own a little bit as a head coach.
I think so. When I saw it after 5 and 7, I know we're going on, so this will be the last comment. Thank you, Aloha Traveler. Is that K-State game when they basically ran the Wildcat and did everything else, I was like, oh, he'll win.
He hated that internally, but he did it to win it.
He did it to win it. It was all about just, hey, I'll just do whatever I got to do to win the game. That's when he showed me. That's when I saw the signs of it. All right, thank you, Aloha Traveler. Great super chat there. John, can you discuss how Baxter and Wisner are different and similar? Oh,
so I wanted to lead off. There's some people asking, like, Cedric Baxter released, Cedric Baxter ready. The answer to that's not close. So I don't know what I know. There's a report or something out there not close to that. No. And it's not a lock that he's going to be ready for the start of the season. He's just advanced to the next stage of his rehab, which is more light involvement. But I've been around him twice, and he's not there. No chance.
Well, he was limping at the softball ceremony a week ago.
It's not fully back. Yeah, it's a long process.
He could be. Here's what people don't understand: he can be cleared for certain things, but that doesn't mean he's full steam ahead.
Yeah,
there's a difference between there's a difference between full steam ahead and he's just back working out some.
Right.
I mean,
catching some swing passes or something. Yeah, that's a much different than
contact ready.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just telling you, everything we've heard is September at the earliest for me personally.
Hey, I want
to be. Hey, by the way, he could be a great healer, and it could be sooner. But that September 1st was as of a week and a half ago, so it hadn't changed. By a month and a half or 2 months and a week. So
by the way, we'll get back to the other question, but Baxter cleared to play. I want to say this: we're not saying he's cleared for contact football at all. I just want to point that out there, but that's not us.
Yeah. Like I said, as long as he's ready for the second half of the season, I feel like you can ride Trey Wisner the first half of the season as your kind of workhorse running back, and then have a fresh guy for the second half, which you're gonna need, by the way, especially for the playoff run. That's kind of how I feel about that. In terms of the differences, getting back to what Jerry's talked about the running game changing, they have been running more gap power schemes in terms of the rates. The gap power schemes has been increasing year by year, just gradually. And I'm with Jerry. I think if you go look at it, I believe CJ Baxter might be the only running back that actually had more gap power runs than zone runs under Sark, which is strange. I mean, it hadn't happened because they
makes sense though.
Yeah. So to Jerry's point, it could be when he is healthy, the running game does shift,
or even Christian Clark.
Or
anybody get behind their pads a little bit more. No offense to Trey Wisner,
or even Gibson in year 2.
Gibson's like that too. Yeah, the backs they bring in are backs that can run downhill on you in the power gaps. I'm with you though, and that's why with going back to Arch, I think that he's better play action pass or traditional play action pass, either from the pistol or under center. I'm not saying they can go into center a lot, but from the pistol or maybe traditional shotgun. Quinn, I think, is going to be, at least early on, is proven to be better in the RPO game. I think he was just natural with it. The off-platform throws, really quick hands. I think Arch has got that. I think Arch will be better than Quinn in the RPO game eventually. But I think to start, he's going to be better as a play-action quarterback rather than an RPO quarterback. But that gets to Jerry's point about downhill, more gap power schemes with some of that accompanied with the play-action game.
Not to be. We're belaboring this point, man. I hate to do this.
Sorry,
but you're talking about Arch and Quinn in a comparison. The one thing that Quinn did exceedingly well on those quick passes was his ball placement.
Yeah.
And it's not so much that he was quick with it, because he was quick with those. It was his ball placement on it.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't a 90% guy on that. He was a 95 to 99 type.
And Bobby, to your point, he didn't have to have perfect footwork to make perfect passes. So that means you get it out quick.
Not in the short game. Not in the short game.
That's what I'm saying. What you're talking about. His feet could be all jaggedy, and he was still accurate in those situations.
Oh, John with the good one. Put that back up. Aggies should send a Father's Day card to Wisner.
That's pretty good, John. Well done. I like that. Well said there. Speaking of Aggies, how about this one from Juan Super Chat? Thank you, Juan. We appreciate that. Says that Jerry, what was the last tweet? What was the last the tweet of Lamar Brown if he commits to A&M this seam and Anthony Hill recruitment thoughts.
Yeah. So look, I said on TexasFootball.com that I thought Texas was the favorite for him going into the A&M visit. I can't say that now. I will say that this is recruiting, and things can change. But we'll see. He's supposed to go to LSU this weekend. He doesn't announce until July 10th. But he's a guy that I'll say this: I don't think his recruitment ends when he commits somewhere.
Oh, I like recruit to the whistle, as Jerry always says. I like that. Recruit to the whistle.
And I'm not saying Texas will eventually get him. What I'm saying is, if an out-of-state kid, if an out-of-state program gets a kid from Southern Lab, they have to hold on to December with LSU, period. And that gives you a chance to kind of be the other guy messing around in that recruitment too.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. Thank you for the super chat. Oh, we got another one here from Forrest. Thank you, Forrest. We appreciate the super chat. It says, fellas, what part of the offense do you think Manning's mobility will elevate the most? Rushing or passing? Thank you, Forrest, for the super chat. Honestly, both, Forrest. First of all, I've said this before. The number one kind of cheat code in the NFL currently right now is scrambling quarterbacks. The average scramble in the NFL actually averaged more than the average pass in the NFL.
Whoa. Are you serious?
Yeah. Average scramble averaged more than the average pass. It's the best cheat code in football right now because no defense there's no game plan to defend it. It's when the play totally breaks down, deteriorates. And now offensively, there's a scramble drill that the defense has to adjust to. These are cheat codes that Sark didn't have access to. I don't know how much Sark wants to regulate scrambling, but I think Arch is going to scramble a lot. And I think that's going to make defenses very cautious about being exotic because you got to keep somebody on him if he's going to be running around all the damn time. And that's going to improve your numbers in the passing game because they got to take that guy from pass coverage and put him as a spy on him, or take them from the pass rush and put him as a spy on Arch. That'll improve your numbers in both. And in the run game, I just think the threat of a +1 in the running game, historically, anecdotally, statistically, analytically, has always improved the run game. A quarterback that can run has improved the traditional run game too. At every level, mostly.
So. I'm going to say this. It's not so much rushing or passing. I think it's going to be red zone. That's the portion Manning's mobility will help the most. Mm-hmm. And I know that's not, one of the two basic. I just think the threat of a running quarterback in the red zone, it changes how defenders have to defend you.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think that's going to be one. And I'm not saying, he's going to run a bunch. I just think they have to account for you. They have to.
Yeah, I think
we saw him do it last year in just a couple of different. Games.
I don't disagree with you guys. One area I think it's going to be change a little bit, and I think run game is going to be very impactful because I think they're going to be able to run it in different ways, like we just talked about. But I think playing on the move, waggles through the play action game.
Well, that's good.
Sark can put more pressure on defenders to have integrity for quarterback movement, because that's a difference that you're going to have to prepare for that you didn't prior.
That's great. Because, and you remember
you show the ball, Rod, you show the ball to the running back and you start moving the pocket the other way.
Mm-hmm.
And what does that do to your backside receivers and your secondary having to be on this? That's kind of the things that Sark's his new toys in his playbook this year, I think.
That's good, Jerry, because when you think about what Sark scripted early on for Arch when he first came into the games, remember that bootleg, we had a waggle, and there was that flood concept, and he would always have that 3-layered flood concept. You can run it, you can dump it short, you medium, and you got a deep one. And they ran that, I want to say 3 different times early on in games when Arch came.
It was his first play, three straight games. Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
Jonte Cook has never looked better.
Yes, it was. He caught like 2 of them, I think. I think you're right. Yeah. And we know Sarkis said, when I get a quarterback, I run what they like. I go run what they like, what they're comfortable with. To Jerry's point, I think you're gonna get the pocket moving.
Some of the old USC stuff may come back into play.
That's
with
good.
the moving pocket stuff.
Hey, we
All
talked a lot about it. Ryan Wingo had a camp up in
right.
St. Louis this
Yep.
weekend. We talked a lot about Arch. Ryan Wingo hosted a camp for kids in his neighborhood. And I think it was at St. Louis University High School. Hanging out there. That's Arch, obviously.
Wait, let's ask a trivia question. Who's in the middle, chat? Who's the guy in the middle? Let's see who can get it.
And we're not talking the guy in the lower right middle. We're talking about the main picture in the middle.
The guy in the lower right middle is Blake Monroe. All right.
Yeah. But hey, the one thing I want to say, as y'all guess who this is, in the middle, to Jerry's point, there were several Longhorns up there. DeAndre Moore, I got sent a picture of him, hanging out with kids in Ryan's neighborhood.
That's cool.
I just this is in St. Louis. It's not in, Austin, Texas. He did it in St. Louis. Leonga Lafau a year ago had one in Hawaii. I think that's good stuff, man. I love seeing kids that, or I shouldn't say kids anymore, young men come in and do this sort of stuff for their community. Thank you to that.
Somebody got it. Albert Pola got it. I was going to give a hint. His injury, Kirby Smart's first national title. It's Jamison Williams.
That was damn good for him to get that. That's impressive.
Good, Albert. I thought I was about to have to give a hint.
I was another St. Louis guy. J-Mo is a St. Louis guy.
That makes sense. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Ezekiel Elliott, another St. Louis guy.
No, St. Louis is a nice hub for a lot of great athletic prospects, different sports too. Yeah. It's underrated. It really is. That's really cool though. I'm glad the guys, because this is part of what like I said, I don't know how much is attached to NIL and all that kind of stuff. Like I'm not privy to that. I don't know. But I do know the player empowerment era. This is one of the really good benefits of it, of the player empowerment era. The guys can go back to where they grew up, where their hometown is, and have these camps and, obviously do great stuff for the community, inspire young people. That I do love. And I see guys doing that everywhere. All the guys, a lot of the guys.
They had 500 kids pre-registered. For the team. That's great, man.
That's awesome. Wow.
Those kids ate that up. That's good stuff.
Yeah. No, I remember the camps, man. I went to Cody Carlson camp back in the day. Right there at U of H. Oh yeah, I went to a couple, but you just want to get a glimpse of, players that you watch on TV. You have no idea how much it's inspiring those young people, man. Those guys will remember that for the rest of their lives. It's really cool. So congrats to those guys, and it's really cool for Ryan Wingo. It's a great, it really is a great project that all these guys will have these camps and stuff like that. So it's cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, Ron, I'm going to ask you a question because you don't have to bring it up. People have asked like a few times, are there any highs from this weekend? There are 2 on the ontexasfootball.com board currently from this weekend. Just currently. Doesn't mean they're playing out tonight. FY.
2 highs. All right. See if I can guess what that is. All right. Miracle Martinez here with the super chat. Thank you. Says apologies, changing subjects. No, that's what super chats are all about. No apologies needed. Miracle Martinez. What are y'all's thoughts? What are y'all's take on Texas Tech softball starters having no choice but to enter the portal because of paying players to replace them? Wow.
Welcome to pro sports. You got released.
I spoke a little bit about this. The problem I'm having with Texas Tech right now is apparently they've signed 3 or 4 All-Americans.
Yeah.
Positional All-Americans. One other pitcher from UCLA, and then I think 3 positional All-Americans. And the problem I'm having with it is some of them they started apparently talking with, and this is alleged according to Sports Illustrated, in February and March of this past year. Okay, that's during the heat of the season. Right. One of those players, was in the College World Series. Okay, so if she literally signed her NIL deal with another team before she went in the portal, and she was playing against Texas Tech in the College World Series, look, that's just, it's not necessarily, I don't know whether it's illegal or not. The NCAA can determine whether that's tampering or whatever. I'm not, but it speaks to the sanctity of the game right? It's like I tried to use this this conversation. Caleb Downs is a great player, right, at Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What if Caleb Downs was secretly committed to Texas when Texas played Ohio State in the semifinals?
He might have slipped on that toss sweep.
I'm just putting it out there. I mean, I'm serious now. That's where it gets dubious.
It's an issue.
Yeah, I mean, because there's money.
Lots of money.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to say, oh, we're recruiting them, but a signed contract? That's money. I mean, I don't, if they did that, I think it's beyond the pale. I'll just putting that out there. But, to each their own. To each their own.
Yeah. No, that's Texas Tech. I will say this: they're trying to be a disruptor.
Absolutely.
They see what they're trying to do. Like, no, what? We're just going to disrupt and see if it benefits us. And you know what? It might, just from headlines alone. Talk more Texas Tech in the last few weeks than we've ever talked Texas Tech, or at least in the last few years or so, since Texas moved on to the SEC. All right, let's get to some of these questions. We got some really.
This is a funny one. Here's a funny response. Jared, great job. Sean Miller high five Trey Johnson in the play-in game after Trey made a 3. There is that on video.
It's kind of what Bobby's talking about. Yeah. All right, let's get to some of these questions here. How about this one? And this one's interesting. How about it was about, yes, how about this one from RW? It says, Bobby, is there a position battle between LaFau and Spence?
I think there's a position battle a lot of places. Those are two very different players, though. Maybe the commonality is they're both hard-nosed.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I mean, they both are willing to stick their nose into just about anything. But I'm not so sure that Spence is going to line up more outside, I think. Like, I think if he's backing up anybody, he's probably going to back up Hill. My thinking.
Yeah. And by the way, when we say this, I think Spence is going to play starter snaps whether he starts or not.
I mean, he's definitely going to get 25 to 30 a game. You don't have 5.5 sacks. We have 4.5, 5.5 in part-time duty.
Yeah.
At Arkansas, by the way.
Yep.
I mean, he didn't do that at Texas where he's sharing. I mean, teams weren't exactly having to throw the ball late against Arkansas.
Yeah.
No, and Sark admitted that he was getting some practice time on the edge. He let that slip. I don't know if he did it intentionally or not, but he did admit that. Now I think he caught all everybody's. He was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. No, dude, they like him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just telling you. That's why that's kind of why I couldn't understand why they were going after David Bailey a little bit, the Stanford edge that ultimately ended up at Tech.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, how many pieces of pass rushers do you want?
They're up to something.
David Bailey's a really good player, so maybe he's an exception to the rule.
I think they're up to something, though. I do. I still feel like there's going to be some type of schematic, exotic element that they use by cross-training all these guys. Trey Moore thrown in there too. Brad Spence, like you said, they wanted David Bailey. They're doing something funky. I won't be able to predict it. Probably till I see it, or be able to look at it. But I think they look up to something on that defense. They're going to bring some new exotic element based on the multiplicity and cross-training that they're doing right now. Just my theory.
I've got my fingers crossed, by the way, on Colton Vossick's health.
I think that's another piece of it.
It really is.
That'd be
if he's healthy.
Yeah, that's freaky. And maybe that's what
the reason you go to the portal for an edge is you don't know if he's going to be healthy.
Yes.
I mean,
or you think David Bailey's a first rounder.
There's that.
Yeah.
That's true. Good point. All right. Good question there. How about this one? This is a good question from Marco. He says, Bobby and Jerry, if all-time UT recruit teams were made from the various regions of Texas, Houston area, DFW, Syntex, East Texas, West Texas, etc., which region would you pick as the best? That is crazy because honestly, the last 5-6 years, it ain't even close. The last 5 or 6 years is DFW. Like it
Okay, let's have some fun with this. This is a great question.
Yeah.
So quarterbacks VY, that's Houston. Running back is really tough, right? So if you give you two, Earl Campbell's East Texas, Tyler. Who's your other running back? Is it Charles from Port Arthur? Is it Seth Benson from West Texas, Midland?
Oh, yeah.
Is it Bijan? It's only Texas.
Only Texas. Only
Only
Texas.
Texas.
Yeah, so you got like
It can't be Ricky Williams and stuff. Is what you're saying.
No.
Yeah.
no.
Wide receiver, Roy Williams, Odessa Permian's one.
I was gonna say
Shipley. That's a good point. Yeah, you all
Shipley's Burnett, Central Texas.
You don't go to the main areas. You're
Jerry just said Burnett instead of Burnett, by the way.
Burnett, sorry. David Thomas. Is David Thomas your tight end out of West Texas Friendship?
Yep.
East
Texas for Jermichael Finley.
Your left tackle's Kelvin Banks, Houston.
no doubt. Yeah.
John Scott's pretty good. He was out of
Leonard Davis was Wortham.
Central. Yeah, I'd call it Wortham Central Texas, wouldn't you?
You're right. Is your right tackle Mike Williams because of where he got drafted? So that's DFW. I mean, he went 2 overall.
He went 2 overall. Yeah. Hard to beat that.
Your center, well, that would be Sin Line, so you got to take him out.
Well, running backs would be East Texas because you got Earl and Jamal.
But would you go Jamal over Benson?
No, well, 2 of the top 3.
As a region.
I mean,
yeah.
So
on defense, you would have – is Tony Brackens on that team? People forget. I mean, he was a multi-year Pro Bowl player.
Tremendous player.
Rack
H-Town.
In modern days, those are the 2 best ends, unless Colin Simmons does something. In my opinion,
Simmons will be one.
Yeah.
If he's not something crazy went wrong in the next year and a half.
So if you're going just if you want edges, honestly, Houston's in the conversation just because of Rack and Corey Redding. Actually,
yeah. And then, by the way, interior D line, Casey Hampton Ball. Is Sean Rogers the
Sean
other?
Rogers,
Yeah, if you count Huntsville as part of Houston.
Yeah, that's
Greater Houston. I guess
that's like 80 miles of Greater Houston. That's like counting Port Arthur as Houston. By the way,
that ain't Houston.
I got told that when Texas got shut out one year in the city of Houston. I won't name the assistant coach who got shut out in Houston because I don't want to embarrass that person. But I got told, "Oh no, we got Jamal Charles that year. He's from Houston." I go, dude.
No, hey man,
Port Arthur in Houston, bro.
No. And back then, when the speed limit was 55, it took an hour and a half to get there.
Exactly right.
So linebacker Tommy Nobles.
There's still traffic. There's still
so linebacker Tommy Novus, San Antonio, Derek Johnson, Waco. Who's your third?
Oh yeah, you're right.
Who's your third?
Britt Hager, maybe West Texas.
Safety, corner and safety. Rod, is Jam on there from Angleton? Huff on there from Nimitz? Is that 2? Or I mean, that's
if you're going old school, you got to go like with Jerry Gray. What's Jerry Gray from?
Lubbock,
Estacado.
More West. If you include Graham as West Texas,
Maybe
get a little.
Where it's like, I mean, DB is tough. I don't know what
Is Earl Thomas a safety? Lee Chadwell, West Orange. I don't know. We had the best season of any guy. That's true.
That's a good question, though, Marco. That is.
I would say this. I would say this. If I had to pick, everywhere but Dallas and Houston versus Dallas and Houston, I'd pick everywhere else.
Oh.
You see what I'm saying? If you told me I had to pick, I could have Dallas and Houston or the rest of the state versus Dallas and Houston, I'd take the rest of the state.
For that question?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that you see what I'm getting at?
I get you. Yeah, I get you.
I mean, VY is it in Houston. I mean, he's as good as Texas ever had. There's a lot of great players coming out of there, but
and what about now? If I ask you that question about the modern recruiting, you take Dallas and Houston. Though.
Oh yeah, Dallas.
It's just ridiculous how many it's
all sports in Dallas right now are just. I mean, they're dominating football and basketball state titles across the state of Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
DFW's built different right now. Even I'm a Houston guy. I used to brag about that, but DFW.
Well, the thing is, it's like I was talking to college coaches about this, and there's like, and it may be because the schools are so spread out in Houston. Maybe part of it. But I think it's also just a few year cycle here. There's more bigger guys. Yes, there's speed in DFW, but there's also more bigger guys on the line overall in DFW right now. It just think back to Duncanville and North Shore a couple of years ago in the state title game. Everybody talks about Caden Durham and Decory Moore, but look at the difference in the size on the lines in that game. Like North Shore doesn't have as big of guys as they used to have. Now they got a few young kids coming up, but there was a point in time there for North Shore where they had the biggest offensive line in the state of Texas for a run there. Those lines, I mean, Prosper started 5 D1 offensive linemen last year and 4 Power 4 guys. They got knocked out in the 3rd round. I mean, like an all D1 offensive line. And that's not even one of your better teams in DFW. I mean, they just a lot of bigger dudes in DFW right now. Oh, kicker Justin Tucker, Austin. We'll end it there.
There you go. Nothing wrong with that. All right. How about this one? Let's get to Daniel here. Says, did not having Arch Manning on campus for this visit have any influence on the energy in Austin this weekend? He, Wingo, and others generously hosted a wonderful camp in St. Louis. Thank you, Daniel. It was wonderful. Actually, Bobby brought up some pictures of it earlier. It was a great camp. Yeah, that's interesting, though. I mean, those are some stars, I guess, on your team.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
I don't think so. I just don't. I don't think so. I think if it was that important, he'd have been there.
And they'll probably, I mean, they got FaceTime now, so you probably just like put a little FaceTime in. I mean, I'm serious. I mean, that's what they do these days. So you're never totally like
right.
Distance from the program. I'm sure that they put in some FaceTime with guys, like literally. All right, DFS Malley. How about this one? Could you give a little airtime to Derek Williams and Leonga Lafau? Williams is obviously coming off an injury, but I've loved what I've seen from Lafau. What do you expect from those two this year? Derek Williams is a starter for you whenever he's healthy. Now, that's the question. When is he healthy? He's like Cedric Baxter for you on defense. Yeah, when you get him.
Is Derek Williams ahead of Michael Taft or Jelani McDonald right now? He was ahead of Jelani McDonald.
He was ahead of McDonald. That's true, but
But now is he?
I'll say this. We'll see how he comes back, but one of the things that he was the best physical downhill run defender of the safeties. So Texas lost some versatility there. So if you're playing is he ahead of those guys starting August? No. But situational football, he may be ahead of somebody.
McDonald was really good there too. Jelani was really good running that alley. He was. He looks really.
What's he look like in year 2?
Rod, thing about McDonald is wingspan and playing in space. Like he may be better in space.
I could see
than any of those guys. McDonald maybe not necessarily the enforcer, to Jerry's point, that Williams is. Mm-hmm. Like Williams can come down, and I'm not saying McDonald or Taft both won't hit yet. Williams can be a little bit of a headhunter, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I can remember that. Yeah, even what's that Oklahoma game that he jarred the ball loose?
Yeah,
come down here with some force before. I'm with you. I agree.
He's a little. I'm not saying he's a better tackler, but a better force player.
Yeah, because I think he diagnoses angles so well that he accelerates to the football. Once he diagnoses where the football is going, the gaps are canceled. He knows exactly where that ball's going to pop. Boom. He does a great job of meeting the ball carrier at the point.
Was that natural, or is that?
I think it's natural. I saw it when we watched film on him coming out of high school. I was like, no, that dude, he can play the run from depth. If you want to go to the NFL as a safety, you got to be able to play the run from depth. I'm talking about 8 to 12 yards and be able to play the run. And to do that well, I was talking to Michael Griffin about this. You got to know the front, because you got to know where the ball's going to pop. You got to know if they're going to contain it, if your defense is going to be able to force it back inside, or if they want to try to, obviously string it out to the sideline. You got to know where the ball's going to pop as a safety, get downhill, and then you can almost guess, if you trust your teammates, where the ball's going to pop. All right, it's only a certain number of gaps that you have to defend. So he does a really good job of that too. All right, Leonga Lafau, I agree with. He's a different type of player for them than some of the linebackers they have, which are offer kind of that versatility. But as just a pure off-ball linebacker, I mean, he's among your top just pure off-ball linebackers.
I think
against the run, especially.
I think instinct, unless Brad Spence proves it different this season, and Bo Barnes does, or if he gets any opportunity this year, much opportunity, we'll get some, or Ty Anthony Smith in year 2. I think LaFau from tackle to tackle is your most instinctive guy. Naturally, backer.
Yep, I like that. That's
now,
why
when the play gets outside the hashes, unless it's a coverage drop play, dropping in coverage, I don't think the sideline speed is what some of the other guys have. But I think if it's instinctive areas, I think he's tremendous.
All right.
Big enough to take on the second level blocks.
That's a good point. All right. Drew here with a question from a while ago, but I think it's relevant to get back to some recruiting talk. Says, I wonder how many edge guys we take this year.
2 or 3. So, and I'll follow up with another question. Somebody asked about players that maybe hadn't scheduled over. Trenton Henderson out of Pensacola Classic. Let's see what happens. He was on campus last week for an unofficial, visited UF this weekend. He's scheduled to be in Austin this weekend for an official, but let's see if he makes that visit. But he is scheduled to be here in Austin on June 20th through 22nd. And by the way, he's a legit lay down 5-star prospect. I was at a spring jamboree. He's a little different. He's a dude. But I think 2 to 3 edges is the number. And I think there's multiple guys. I mean, Texas, Drake Quinn, Jake Krill, both those guys in this weekend. And Bryce Perry Wright's kind of that hybrid guy that could be a bigger Baron Sorrell, but could also end up being kind of a swing guy, 5-tech type 2. The interesting thing is, I think Drake Quinn is more Texas and Clemson right now. We'll see which way that goes. Jake Krill has some ties to UF, but he's visiting OU this weekend. But I think Texas did well with him. So, and then you have Luke Wafel coming in next weekend. Luke Wafel, obviously, his brother plays at Penn State, transferred from Michigan to Penn State, but he didn't commit to Penn State. Visit's still on. So there's a lot of talented edge prospects on the board. And I think it's kind of similar to a couple other positions. If 2 guys were committed in a Trenton Henderson made a visit and ends up saying, this is where I want to go, Texas isn't going to say, sorry, bud, we're out of spots. Not for that guy.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the question. How about 2 broke to pay attention wants to know, is Chad Scott the run game coordinator? I don't know if he's been given that title. I think he's right now the assistant running back. I mean, he's a running back coach as an assistant coach. I don't know if he's been given the run game coordinator title.
I don't know, but it's an irrelevant title.
You think the run game coordinator is important? Not at all. Okay.
Not unless you're the offensive line coach.
Yeah, that's the point.
I mean, because no offense to Chad Scott. I'd say the same thing for every other, running back assistant coordinator. Yeah. Now, pass game coordinator could be different because there's different variances. Okay. There's no real variance at run game coordinator. No offense.
That's fair.
There's just not. And I'm not. It's a way for maybe Chad Scott to get more money.
Yes,
by title. And that's why it was created in the first place, frankly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, then it's worth it then. Yeah.
Yeah, I take the title too.
It is important. Yeah, it is important. He's making more money because of it. Ed B wants to know how many O linemen in this class. Ed B, I would encourage you to go check out the piece that Jeff Howe and CJ did too. They did a really good overview of the O line. It was really good stuff. But how many O line you think they'll get in this class?
I think 5, but in that situation where the right guy said he wanted in late after there were 5, and that could be one of 2 names probably, they wouldn't say no.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that question, Ed B. All right, let's thank our sponsor, our sponsors for tonight's program, our friends over at Rogue Shop. Before we get close to ready to close down shop here, rogueshop.com. Use that discount code on Texas. You'll get a very special discount from our friends over at rogueshop.com, bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. They have it all from oils and creams to flour, gummies, and vitamins as well. So no matter what you're dealing with, whether it's anxiety, sleep deprivation, aches and pains, our friends at Rogue Shop have a number of different items that'll help you battle those ailments. So check them out, rogueshop.com, bringing real plant medicine back to its roots, and use that discount code. You see it right there on your screen, on Texas. So thank you very much to our friends at Rogue Shop for sponsoring our Sunday night live stream. Also, before we get done, I want to encourage everybody to, if you do want more information, great stuff from Jerry, great nuggets from CJ and Jeff and Bobby as well, on texasfootball.com is where you need to go. And right now we are offering you an opportunity to become an OTFOG. That's the code you use, OTFOG, and you can get a year subscription to ontexasfootball.com for just $39.95. You cannot beat that deal. Like I said, the stuff that we talk about here on the YouTube platform, man, just a fraction of all the information that Jerry and Bobby and Jeff and CJ and our team are giving you over at ontexasfootball.com. So if you want the complete scoop, the complete insider details, on texasfootball.com, use that code OTFOG, and you'll get a year subscription for just $39.95. All right. We apologize if we missed any of your questions, guys. Thank you for all the participation and super chats. You guys were great as usual. Happy Father's Day to everybody out there. If we missed any of your questions, just direct them to these gentlemen at Coffee and Football early tomorrow morning, bright and early, 8:15. Bobby and Jerry will both be on that program. So if you got some questions that we didn't get to, you can just direct them to Coffee and Football, or you can direct them to myself and CJ and Coach Bob Shipley. We'll have the 3:15 airing of the Winning Drive also as well. So you got two opportunities tomorrow live with us to get any of your questions answered. So thank you guys for all of your participation. Thank you to Matthew behind the scenes as well. Matthew is a real MVP. Couldn't do it without him. And thank you to Jerry. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Bobby, as well. And for Jerry and for Bobby and for Matthew and for rogueshop.com, use that discount code on Texas. Until next time, I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babies. Happy Father's Day and hook 'em horns.
Hook 'em.